What's cooking, everybody?
Dave Altizer here with
Zach Mayfield.
and today we're comparing the DJI Ronin-S with the Zhiyun Crane 2. Nice. So we invited Zach Mayfield to be here today. Zach, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a YouTuber, filmmaker, and full-time musician, and I've been using the Zhiyun Crane 2 with the GH5 for over a year now.
That's great because I've been using the Ronin-S now for a couple of months and I've really liked using it. So to make this comparison fair, we're going to use the exact same camera with the exact same lens on both gimbals. I will operate the Ronin-S and then Zach will do the Zhiyun Crane 2. That way we have operators that know what they're doing to get the most identical shots possible. But first, let's look at the specs between these two gimbals. Both the DJI Ronin-S and the Zhiyun Crane look like they're similar, but they really have several differences when you look at the specs. First off, the price. As of right now, a DJI Ronin-S is going to cost you $749, and the Zhiyun Crane 2 is coming in at $649, plus they're including a focus motor which allows you to control focus even if your lens doesn't have electronic connections to your camera. Charging. The Ronin-S uses a standard Type-C charging. You don't need to use a special charger to take out the battery to charge, and with a fast charger it takes about 2 hours and 15 minutes to charge. With the Zhiyun Crane 2, it needs a specific adapter to charge and the batteries should be taken out. It takes 2.5 hours to charge. Mobile apps. With the Ronin-S, when you connect to the app, the Ronin app will actually filter and only show you the Ronin-S. It's a really simplified app and it's really easy to use. The Zhiyun Crane 2, however, requires two different apps, and when connecting to the app, it shows all the devices with Bluetooth on. It's really confusing. It's just kind of a nightmare. On the Ronin-S, when you change settings, it saves those settings to the device. And with the Zhiyun Crane 2, when you need to change the settings, you have to restart the gimbal. Gimbal control. On the Ronin-S, double tap the trigger for recenter and long press trigger for lock. Tap 3 times for selfie mode. On the Zhiyun Crane 2, tap 4 times on the mode button to recenter it, and to change through different modes, you need to tap through the mode button and check on the screen, which is kind of nice to have built in. DJI will be doing a screen accessory with the Ronin-S that we should be seeing soon. The weight of these gimbals is very different. The Ronin-S is coming in at 4.1 pounds, and the Zhiyun Crane 2 is at 2.76 pounds. Both gimbals can support high weight capacity, but the Ronin-S is beating the Zhiyun Crane with 8 pounds compared to 7. Now, back to you, Zach and me, Dave. Wow, that was an amazing motion graphics animation that I did there. You like that?
Very good, Dave.
Anyways, we're here at the park. We're going to compare these two gimbals. Starting out with a walking test, I will film Connor walking with the Ronin-S, and then Zach will use the Zhiyun Crane 2 of Connor walking. Let's go. In the studio, we've loaded up all the footage that we shot on the Ronin-S and the Zhiyun Crane 2. We're going to be looking at the Ronin-S footage first, and then the Zhiyun Crane 2 footage. We shot everything on the Sony a7 III in 1080p at 24 frames per second. You will not be seeing any slow motion in this comparison video. I think that's one of the worst things you can do when you're showing a gimbal, is like looking at slow-mo. Of course that's smooth. So this first shot here is just a shot of Connor walking through the lakeside here. I'm gonna full screen it, and the Ronin, I mean, it's just performing as I would expect.
Yeah, it
it's
looks
kind
good.
of smooth. You know, I'm bouncing up and down a little bit on the rocks just because
It was pretty rough terrain though. There's a lot of like little rocks and cracks you had to walk over.
But this is a pretty basic test, a very standard gimbal shot.
Yeah, it looks good though.
Moving on to the next clip. This is the exact same shot, your thing, you shot this.
Yeah, you can see some bumps on the left side of the frame by the tree line. I think it's...
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit less...
Let's look at that, actually.
Yeah, usually...
There's the Ronin.
Watch the edges of the frame.
So we're looking at the edges here, right? And then I'm gonna move to the Zhiyun Crane.
Yeah, you can see some bumps there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, you were already like keen and aware of that. Does
Well,
IBIS take that out usually?
Yeah, usually with the GH5, I'll keep the stabilization on and it smooths that out a little bit, but you don't want to have to rely on that with a gimbal.
Yeah.
You want it to do its job.
And since we're on that topic, I will go ahead and say that we did disable the IBIS in the Sony. So we turned the steady shot, as they call it. We turned that off. But yeah, I mean, already, I did not know that the Zhiyun Crane had those issues with the edges here, but
I've struggled with that quite a bit.
I will say that the actual, focal point looks pretty decent. But yeah, I mean, look at that. There was a bump right there. You stepped over a rock or something, right?
It's like right when I go over this crack.
So yeah, right here when you jump over that little rock, there's just a little bump. Yeah, so let's move on. This is the exact same shot again. This is on the Ronin. Again, maybe looking at the edges here, it's nice and smooth. The gimbal is kind of going back and forth. It's not perfect, it's just because it was hard to move backwards.
Yeah, let's check out the Zhiyun Crane.
So the Z Crane, as I like to call it. Again, same kind of shot. I think this one, the edges look good.
Yeah, this one's looking pretty good.
I'm not really seeing a ton of issues there.
I was my framing was kind of off because I'm going backwards, but
yeah,
the movement's not too bad.
It's kind of a pretty shot. Got the nice coastline there. That nice operator right there. So this next shot is a running test, and it's definitely not something that you're gonna do every day.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I just thought it'd be fun to do that. So this is the Ronin-S running. I had a little running start here, and we'll go ahead and watch that. And yeah, Ronin's not looking so good here, but I mean, it's a running shot.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of bounce.
I mean, overall, it's steady.
Yeah.
Nothing too interesting to look at here.
Nice jump.
Although, other than that, let's rewatch that.
MJ!
All right, so this is the Zhiyun Crane. Same exact setup as before.
Ooh, lots of jitter.
Tons of little micro jitters. Again, the edges are the best places to look for that. Also, I will say the way that, I'm gonna rewind it here, the way that the Zhiyun is kind of moving, because this little pathway here is kind of going at an angle, and I can see as you are moving, it kind of looks robotic.
It does. I've noticed that about the Crane too, is even when you slow the settings way down and keep everything smooth, it's still, the movements are kind of jerky.
Tell me about this shot. This was your idea, Zach, to do this next sequence.
Yeah, so this is kind of the classic parallax shot where you keep your subject towards the center of the frame and just rotate around them in a circle. You don't want the horizon line to go crooked at all, and you want the motion in the background to be really, really fluid and smooth.
I was trying my best to keep Connor centered. I was a little off on that, but
looks good though.
But yeah, I mean, very Michael Bay kind of a shot. The smoothness of it is pretty good.
Yeah, the actual like steadiness of the gimbal is really good.
All right, moving on to the Zhiyun Crane. This is Zach operating.
There's a little bit of jitter. You can, if you look at his hat, you can see it kind of bouncing up and down. Did you see that?
Yeah. So I'll go slower here, and you can see it right there. Boom. Boom.
Yeah. There's some movement there.
Kind of weird. So let's look at the hat here, and boom, you can see some of the jitters in the top here that are kind of wild.
It's not too bad.
It's not bad.
I feel like there's a little bit more bounce than
let's look
Ronin.
at the Ronin again at 400% here like this. I don't know, man.
There's no like.
There's no bumps.
There's no like jitters.
There's nothing in that. It's like very cinematic.
It's moving around, but yeah, it's still very fluid motion.
Any movement that's happening is my fault.
So we planned out. It was Connor's idea. Good job.
It was Connor.
Planned out a little cinematic sequence where Connor's walking to his car. He's going around the back. So the gimbal starts at his feet.
In the low mode.
In the low mode. So we're holding them upside down, and then the camera pulls up. He gets in the car, and the camera goes around the car as he backs up.
The reason we wanted to do this shot is to really show off the potential of this gimbal in a real life scenario. You know, this is definitely a sequence that you would do maybe for a short film, or I don't know.
Like a music video or something.
Yeah, we're in low mode here, so we're starting at the feet. We're walking around.
And it starts to pull up here.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, very cinematic kind of a shot. And he gets in, I slowed down a little bit. I will pause it here. The car is actually at an angle, so like the gimbal is not off. The car was just on a hill, so that's why it looks like it's off there on the horizon. I did see some bumps.
Yeah, there's a little bump there.
Right there,
I think you had to step over like a curb though.
And then he drives off. Boom. All right, so let's move on to the Zhiyun Crane shot. That looked
pretty good, yeah.
Good. I'm not really seeing any issues.
So I'm operating this one on the Crane too.
Yeah, same exact shot for the most part.
Look at the side robotic
to side.
like
right
side to
there,
side.
boom. Like where is it? Right about here. So watch the side to side action. Oh, I kind of missed it.
Well, even like every little turn, it just feels like the gimbal's trying to catch up.
And again, I'm seeing like It's almost something you can't really see here, but you can kind of feel it. There's just a lot of little, I mean, look at the edges.
Yeah, watch when it starts to
Right
rotate
there.
around the back of the car. Like right.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom.
It's like it's not one smooth cinematic motion, it's like a bunch of little movements.
And again, we've completely adjusted the gimbal to have those fluid settings set. So like, it's not like we're ignoring the settings that allow for the fluidity.
Yeah.
We've actually set all those things, and it's still not very fluid. And that's the main thing that I've experienced with the Ronin-S is like, just overall, it has a cinematic movement to it.
Yeah.
The movement from point A to B feels a little bit more, it's dampened, it kind of like has some gravity to it.
So this next test is a high-speed test. I was hanging out of Connor's sunroof of his car, holding the gimbal,
Yeah.
wind blowing in my face, and this is just to test like the wind resistance of each gimbal.
And Connor went to about 40 miles per hour on both tests to really kind of put it through its paces. But yeah, Zach, what was it like using the Ronin? What did you feel in this moment? We'll look at some of the footage here.
Yeah, the Ronin, for some reason, I actually felt like the Crane maybe handled the resistance a little better.
Okay.
With the higher speed. But yeah, we were going really fast. We were going like 40 miles per hour, and I was just trying to keep the pans really smooth. The one thing about the Ronin is it held the horizon much better than the Crane. On the Crane, I was constantly correcting the horizon in follow mode.
This is going downhill. This is the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Connor kind of picked up some good speed going this way, so we'll look at that.
No, wait a couple
You
seconds.
also did a move here. Tell us about that.
So right here, I slowly panned to the left to just see how smooth it would pan, and it's really not bad for how fast we're going.
Yeah. I'm looking at the edges a lot. I'm looking at the sky. That's really where you can see some of the flaws. And overall, it looks pretty dang smooth.
Yeah.
You can actually see the car kind of moving around. So that really proves that the gimbal's staying pretty still. And there's
That's a
Zach's
good
face.
shot.
Yeah, I like that
What
one.
a guy.
All right, so this is the Zhiyun Crane,
Ooh, there's
and I'm
some
already
bumps.
seeing bumps. As soon as the car hits a bump,
Yeah, so
And the
there's
horizon.
me trying to fix the horizon. Wow, there's a lot more movement.
little micro jitters again.
Yeah, you can just see when the car is turning, the horizon drifts.
Oh, look at that. So you didn't do that?
No,
Okay.
that was all.
So let's
the
look at
gimbal.
that again. So as he was turning this corner here, watch the horizon go from there to, so it's kind of sideways.
Yeah, so I used the joystick to correct it.
Okay.
But with the Ronin, it just kind of self-corrects.
This all looks good right now. I mean, everything looks pretty decent right now.
Yeah. If you want to do any sort of long take, like a really long cinematic smooth take, the Crane is kind of a struggle.
And I will note too that we actually used my Zhiyun Crane. I own this one and the Ronin-S. So these are both mine. We just loaded his settings. So if his prior experience was on his personal Zhiyun Crane and the same thing is happening on my personal Zhiyun Crane,
It's not a product flaw.
it's not a product flaw.
Here comes the pan to the left. It's not terrible.
Horizon's off completely.
Oh yeah, yeah, it totally drifts.
All right, so here is the Ronin doing the pan.
The horizon's perfect there.
Horizon's perfectly level. So let's talk about price.
So right now, the Crane 2 is $649, but it comes with the $130 focus motor for free, and then the Ronin-S is $700.
Yeah, for $699.
$699.
But let's just call it $700. So you're saving $50 to go with the Zhiyun Crane, and in addition to that, you get the focus motor, which I have as well, but we didn't load it on here. And it's great. It actually interfaces really nicely with this little knob, and you can control focus manually if you have manual glass or a focus gear on your lens. With that topic though, the only cameras that interface with that focus knob are Canon cameras. And then I don't have my focus knob installed on here because the cameras that I own don't even work with it, so I took it off. But the Ronin, the only cameras that work on this are Panasonic cameras,
so
as of right now, which is September 2018. So that'll probably change them both. You know, maybe the Zhiyun Crane 3 will work with Sony's and Panasonic's. Then maybe in the next couple months, Ronin will work with everybody. But as of right now, pretty much if you're a Panasonic shooter, you should probably get this one. And if you're a Canon shooter, it's maybe a little harder because in some aspects this is a better gimbal, but that one does interface better with Canon cameras.
But also Canon cameras usually have really good autofocus, so you might not even need the focus pull.
I will say, however, in addition to the focus control, you do get this little screen here, which allows you to change your aperture, your ISO, different things like that on the gimbal, which is pretty cool, and start, stop, record.
To be honest, I never use that though.
Physically, this one has a motor off axis here, so for my Sony camera, I can actually see my screen. On the Zhiyun Crane, it's right up there. I mean, that's one of the things that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of obvious, but even though the Ronin-S now is more expensive, is it worth it?
I think it is. I think just the overall, I mean, the most important thing is the image. And we definitely got better, smoother images with the Ronin today. I think that's enough to spend an additional $50.
I also think there's some things that maybe specs don't show, and that is just the way that this feels in your hand. I feel like the Ronin just feels more comfortable. You got these nice soft grips here.
This one's just kind of like a big pipe. That one has like a dedicated grip that feels really good.
And the way that this tripod leg has, you know, a little rubber on there, the joystick is pretty, you know, pretty good. It's a lot like their drone joysticks. Also, the ability to charge this over USB-C is great. So
that
like,
is nice.
If you're using a new MacBook, you can just use the same charger as that to charge your gimbal. That one you have to have that little battery dongle thing.
Yeah, you have to like physically unscrew this, take out the batteries, charge them, and put them back in.
You can kind of go back and forth all day long about the differences of the physical elements of it and even the price. But when it really comes down to it, we were just looking at image quality alone and like actual performance in real life usage. It really looks like the Ronin is giving us better image quality. Let me just end it with this. If somebody owns the Zhiyun Crane 2, like someone like you, do you think it's worth getting the Ronin-S?
I think if your work heavily involves gimbal, if you like rely on that a lot, yeah, I think it's worth selling and getting the Ronin-S. If it's more of like a casual thing or you just use it once in a while, I don't think it's worth the trouble of selling it and then paying out of pocket to get another gimbal.
And if you're somebody that's brand new to gimbals and getting their first gimbal, without a doubt, Ronin-S. Don't even worry about the Zhiyun Crane. Yeah. I wanted to thank you, Zach, so much for being here and for hanging out. Let's shake, hug. How can our viewers see more of you?
Well, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Zachariah Mayfield, or my website, which is zachariahmayfield.com.
Once again, I'm Dave Altizer.
I'm Zach Mayfield.
And if you like hardcore music, check out Earth Groans.
That was perfect.